Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Get Fit With Me, expanding your physical and mental fitness group. This group is for individuals who are ready to expand both their physical and mental fitness while helping and supporting others with similar goals all along the way. So this week we have 3 new members. We have Lois, who is here on the call with us. Happy to have you. We have Allie and we have Adam. So 3 new members of the group. Super excited to have you guys here. This is a different experience. We get on here and it's great when people are able to jump on so then we can have great conversations. But sometimes it ends up being me because of the time. And no matter what, you guys are going to learn something and hopefully be able to take at least one thing away from whatever I teach you that week. We do switch between, I've started to do, so every other week we're going to have more of kind of mental lifestyle, like things for our mental fitness. And then the opposite weeks, we're going to do more movement workshops. So we're going to get up during our time and move. I am very conscious of your guys' time, you guys showing up. So today we're going to stick at 45 minutes max. If we end shorter, we end shorter, but we are going to try to stop at that 45-minute mark. So let's introduce ourselves. We have Cherry, Kathy, and Lois. Which one of you would like to go first in letting us know who you are, where you're from, and do you feel like you're organized or unorganized? Cherry, go for it. Take us, lead us.
Cherry from Springfield, Missouri. I do not feel organized at all. People tell me I'm organized, but I'm not. Hence the bed full of books. It's disorganized.
Well, thank you for being here. I will have a follow-up question to that later. So keep that, whatever your guys' response are, so there will be a follow-up question. Lois, would you like to go next? Who you are, where you're from, and are you organized or unorganized?
Am I on mute or am I good?
You are good.
Okay. I'm Lois Leggett. I'm from St. Stephen, Minnesota. I would say people used to give me a rough time at work because I used to have stacks of piles, but I knew what was in my piles. So I'm kind of an organized, disorganized person, or am I a disorganized, organized person? One or the other.
Okay, a little bit of both. So it
Yeah.
sounds like physically you're unorganized, but mentally you're organized.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Okay. Kathy, how are you?
Hello, Kathy Toby from Lansing, Michigan. And I feel like I am organized, sometimes to a fault. I think everything has its place and it should be there.
You have a background that probably puts you in a very organized factor. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So I don't ever introduce myself. I'm Morgan Ekovich. I'm the runner of this group. I'm the owner of Get Fit With Me. I'm from Lansing, Michigan as well, and I'm organized. I'm a very organized person that it stresses me out when I'm not. So I'm going to be teaching you guys some things today that I use every day to make sure that I get the things done that I need to, and little things that really have helped over time that if I don't do it, I can see when things fall between the cracks. So you can be do you think you can be mentally organized? Do you think there's a difference between mentally organized and physically organized?
Definitely.
So Lois, I know you said you feel like you are mentally organized, but not physically, or you were when you worked.
Yep.
Cherry, where do you think you feel?
I think mentally, I feel disorganized. Everything's everywhere, lists everywhere, papers everywhere. So I guess both disorganized. I don't know. But people will tell me that I'm organized. So I don't get how that corresponds.
And that could be your follow through on things. Because you show up, you may feel like your house is unorganized or your physical spot is unorganized and your mind may be, but you are still continuing to show up. So to others, you seem organized, even if you don't feel it. Kathy, how about you? Physically or mentally or both?
I think they go hand in hand. If my physical surroundings are crazy and unorganized, then my mental goes there. If I am emotionally unorganized, then the physical follows. So for me, they go hand in hand.
I'd have to say I'm along the same lines there. If my workspace is not cleaned up and organized, it's really hard for me to focus on the task at hand. So today we are going to talk about mentally organized. As we did say, sometimes they go hand in hand depending on who we are, and sometimes they fall into different categories. Because sometimes they fall into different categories, physical organization we will touch on in the upcoming weeks. Today we are going to talk about being mentally organized. So, question number 1. For those of you on Facebook, if any of these, please answer any of these questions, hashtag live or hashtag replay if you are watching. So, do any of you guys have a morning routine, like a consistent morning routine set up already? Okay, so that's step number 1, is having something that you get up and you do every single morning. That is going to be key number 1. These aren't even my tips. These are just before this. So having your routine is going to be key to making all these tips work. Let's get into it. So tip number 1 is going to be get a calendar or a planner. How many of you have one of those? How many of you guys have a scheduling system that you use?
Yes.
Do you follow it?
Yes.
If it is not on your calendar, do you tend to forget about it?
Yes.
Good. So the big thing about this calendar is making sure it works for you. I've always been a pen and paper person. I used to love the Passion Planner. It was awesome. It was broken down into hourly. It was perfect. And then I got out of school where you have a consistent schedule, and I got into training, and you have people cancel, you have people add. I had so many cross-offs that I didn't even know what I was looking at. So then I switched to the digital. If you are trying to decide which one you like, do both. Try it out for a bit. I personally like the Google Calendars now that I've gotten into it. So you can color code things, you can type, you can add whatever notes you need to underneath that, because sometimes in a paper calendar you can't. So number 1, you guys have all done it. You got a calendar or a planner that you use. So if that means you spend a little bit of money trying to figure out which ones work for you, that's okay, because it is going to be super important to making sure you get your things done. Number 2, make a list of your priorities daily. How many of you guys do this? Sherry, sometimes?
Yeah, it's my goal to do it every day. It doesn't get done every day.
Have you thought about adding it to your morning routine?
I've thought about it. It doesn't always happen. I have lots of kids, and they come into the question, and boom, things get changed, and I don't get to my morning routine, and it frustrates me.
Okay, and then you're not alone on that. We all have, whether we have children or we don't, we have grandkids, we have a significant other, or we don't, whatever it is, something in our life will eventually pull us in one way or another when we really need our morning routine that day. It's usually what happens. The days when we need it most is the days when we usually can't get it in. So maybe it's the night before when you go to bed, make your list of priorities so that the next morning you wake up and it's one less thing you have to think about. So make your list of priorities, get your calendar or planner, make your list of priorities. How many of you schedule your priorities on your calendar? You do?
The top
Kathy?
priority. That's the one that always gets put on the calendar, the top one.
The top one? Okay, so you usually put at least one on the calendar. Okay. Kathy, I saw you kind of moving side to side. How about you?
Being retired, it gives you a little bit more flexibility. So yeah, most of the time I have set that priority, but to be honest, if it's something I can do the next day, I'm good with that too.
How many times has the next day turned into the next day and the next day, and all of a sudden that doctor's appointment that you're supposed to call and schedule 2 months ago is all of a sudden here and you didn't show up because you forgot to reschedule it?
Yeah, so probably the major ones I do. I mean, I wouldn't miss appointments and stuff like that or meetings, but you know, maybe the lower priority things, I kind of, you know, I probably may put off to the next day. And if I don't do, I usually will do it the next day though. It doesn't turn into days and days and days and weeks.
Good. Sometimes that's what happens, is those low priorities will start to make their way back on those sticky notes underneath the desk covered in dirt because it fell off. And you're like, huh, I needed to get that one thing done. Forgot about that. It was low priority at the time. So
And
Lois,
then
how
it
about
turns
you?
into a major priority because your furnace breaks down because you didn't change out the filters or something like that.
Yes. And that's a perfect example of taking that low priority at the time and still putting it on your schedule somewhere, because eventually it is going to become that high priority. So Lois, what about you? Do you prioritize the things you need to get done, or?
You know, I think for some of us that are going through retirement, I think navigating retirement is I was unprepared for, okay? And you kind of want to relax and kick back, and I'm retired. I don't need to do all this. I don't need to feel the pressure of doing all of this or making priorities or having to get to it. So I think me navigating that whole thing has been a tough journey for me.
So when you were working, why do you think the transition from working to retirement was hard?
Because I did have
So yes,
priorities and things needed to be done and deadlines needed to be met, and you know, you had to do it. So you got it done, even if that you meant working late into the night. Whereas now it's like, I'm retired. I don't need to feel that pressure. So give yourself a break. Whereas now maybe it's time to not give myself so many breaks. I don't know.
And I think that's a good insight, is finding that balance between giving yourself a break, but also putting something on the calendar, not to stress you out, but to create a sense of routine and that I've done something. When sometimes we feel, I can't imagine being retired. I'm way far away from retirement over here. But like feeling lost, like when I was laid off for COVID, I was like, what am I supposed to do? Am I just supposed to like sit here and do nothing? Like it was a very weird, and I imagine that's what that transition from working to retirement is. This was my life and now it's stopped.
Yeah.
So trying to integrate maybe just 1 or 2 times a week, even your exercise routine, Lois, getting it on as that is your priority.
Yeah.
Just put that on, and that's the one thing that is structured that helps bring, and then you can relax and rest the rest of the time. And then 4, time block your activities. So this is more for those really low priority things in your life. I find like housework, I like to time block that. If I'm gonna do the dishes or do laundry or vacuum, I do all of that at the same time. I know that doesn't always work for people. They're like, oh, I only have 5 minutes to do this or 5 minutes to do that. But I will schedule time at the end of my day for like house, so that I can get all the things done that I needed to that day. If I know I don't have underwear for the next day, I need to make sure that like I get laundry thrown in and I give myself enough time to remember, okay, now you need to switch the laundry and don't let it just sit in the washer all day. So time blocking some of those activities that are very similar. So house activities, Cherry, for your business, when you are working through things, if you're going to schedule emails, you can time block and schedule all emails. For you guys on retirement, it can be your appointments. You're going to sit there and call the appointments that you need to. Like schedule those things that are just, they're very small, but if you block them all together, they don't seem like you have to do them often. Like you have to do them often and they flow a lot easier. How does all that sound?
Good.
The idea of time blocking is great, but I have so many interruptions. So I will block a certain time or block a time to do something specific, get interrupted, during that block like 5 times. And then I'm like, now I didn't get it done and we're moving on to the next thing. So I have trouble with that part, like the interruptions, and I don't get that full amount of time that I did block for that thing.
So in your day, when I say time block, you can also think about it a different way. You can think of day blocking. You were going to block Tuesdays for emails. So instead of only giving yourself 2 hours to have 5 interruptions, instead you give yourself all of Tuesday to get all of your emails scheduled.
I like that concept. That sounds good.
Because then you're not as pressed to get it done. Because as soon as you tell the kids that you have something going on, they need everything. They're very self-sufficient until you need to work.
Of course.
So that's another way to think about that, is maybe time blocking is not it, but it just needs to get done that day. When I schedule my priorities, I have a notebook because sticky notes get lost and little pieces of paper get lost, and even the notes in my phone get lost. But I have a notebook that every day I put the day of the week, the date, and then the things I need to get done, so that I can flip back at the end of each week and say, okay, what did I not cross out that needs to be moved forward? That's at the top of whatever day I choose to do that. And then it's a good way to see, what have you done? What was an idea of something you wanted to do? It's a good way to track that's all in one spot. So this and my Google Calendar are the 2 things that I cannot really live without. They go everywhere with me. They're very important because I need a way to hang on to things that is organized. The more organized we can be with our thoughts when we put them down, the easier it's going to be for us to go out and actually follow through on those. So how's all this sitting with you guys? Do you feel like you do some of this stuff? Do you feel like I could probably be better at this? Like, how's all this kind of sitting?
I do the list, and what I find is when you mark them off, there's a sense of accomplishment that you've got something done, even just putting that line through it. And at the end of the day, it's like, yay, I got everything done. I guess it can work in the opposite if you don't accomplish those things. So that could be stressful.
I think that's a great point. Part of the reason I love the notebook is I can go back. So this is from, I'll tell you when this first date was. This was back on Wednesday, August 13th last year is when I started this notebook. So I've had this for over a year now. And I can look back at things I didn't do back last August that I was like, that really was not that important, but I felt like it was important at the time. And I can see all the sense of accomplishment of crossing something off. It's a very good feeling. Cherry Lois, what kind of stuff do you guys do now to help keep you organized that I haven't talked about, or you may try to implement with other things?
I have lots of lists, but they tend to be kind of scattered here and there. So I like the all-in-one book, except I don't think my book would last for a year. Like, my list is way too long, I feel like. So I have to prioritize the list. You pick the top things for that day that I want to finish and put that in the book. I think I like that idea. Yeah, I can always be better.
In your book, is there a calendar as well, or is that just notes in your book?
This is just notes that I do anything such as diagrams. If I have, so this is my business one, but I will put, like, I have a meeting with my health insurance guy next week. He's in here because it's something that falls during my work day. And work is where I find it's harder to get things done. When you own your own business and you work on your own hours, it's harder to accomplish those things. So it is just a plain notebook. It's called the Better Life Journal. There is a way you're supposed to use this to its advantages. I just like how the pages write. You can use any journal you want. You probably don't need to. Somebody gave this to me and it's like a $30 journal. I don't use it for what you're supposed to use it for.
How do you do about separating, like you were talking about business, and so it was during your day, so you put it with your business stuff. How do you separate all those things? So I have personal stuff, I have business stuff, I have kids stuff, I have seems like so many categories. How do you categorize all that?
Great question. I color code. Everything is color coded. So what will happen is business is blue. Personal is usually, no, so business in my calendar, business is pink. I have fun stuff in bright blue. Like this is fun stuff. This is like things that I get to do or personal things. And then I also have another color, which is kind of like random. Like I'm not really sure where this falls into, but I know it's a priority. So thinking through what colors do you want to color code it as? Hi, buddy. And using and just being consistent with that. So not each day, don't switch up your color coding system each day. Keep your color coding system consistent. And then you can always look, and it's an easy way to break everything up. Do you use a paper planner or a digital planner, Sherry?
I have the calendar, it's digital, and I do have it color coded for those things, like the appointments and that kind of stuff. I think where I come into trouble is the papers on my desk and that kind of stuff. I have homeschool stuff, business stuff, and it's all like scattered in with everybody else, everything else. And it's just too messy. I just need organization.
Find a journal, even if it's one of your kids' notebooks. Start tomorrow, color coding at the top, scribble whatever color this means. And you can either write it in that color, or you can just do the checkbox in that color. So then when you're done, you draw the line through it. You can also decide, is it high or low based on symbols? So figure out a system through colors and symbols where you're like, oh, this is urgent. Anything circled needs to be done. Anything that has a weird line, like figure out a way, what kind of things stand out to you? Colors is a huge one for me. I don't care. Symbols don't really do much because my lists are not super long, but I need to know what is what and where it needs to fall based on the color of it. I love my digital calendar. My Google Calendar has about 8 different colors because I still nanny. So anything nanny's in green. Anything when I'm in the club in person is purple. Any of my Get Fit With Me is pink. Classes are red. And anything fun is blue. And that is consistent. So when I open up my calendar, I can see, oh, that's where that goes. That's something fun I get to look forward to. Did you find that helpful?
Yeah, I'm getting ideas. I feel like I need one of those 5 subject notebooks or something, and then each section might be separated for me.
That's a great idea because then you don't have to keep it all together, and start with just one area. So either start with the business, start with school, the kids' school, or start with personal. Start with just one of those areas, get your system down for that, then add in one of the others. Really small things by just doing one out of the 3 is going to be much more manageable too.
Yeah, for sure.
So Lois, what kind of schedule do you have? Do you enjoy the calendar planner you have? And do you prioritize anything? How do you make your lists?
I probably need to, I've been lax. I need to get into it. So tomorrow I'm going to start. I always used to have a calendar that paper and pen was my deal. But I'm going to look into Google Calendar because I have not done Google Calendar. So I'm going to look into that. Maybe that'd be a fun way for me to get started, excited, color code, because I'm I used to be a color coding person at work. So maybe that would be a way for me to make it fun, start priorities, high priorities, low priorities, and then I think I also need to just figure in flex time so that I don't get stressed out about stuff, but flex time where, okay, if they call me and they need help with the grandkids, boom, it's there and I'm not stressed out about it and I can shuffle things around to still get my priorities done, but they're a huge priority for me. So, and I have to admit, they're the kind, my son and his wife are very laid back and they kind of call you up like, hey, what are you doing now? I need help. And I was like, oh, thanks for the heads up. That doesn't really help plan too far in advance. So I've got to accept that's the way it is. And I think build in flex time.
I think that's great for you to know Google Calendars. I can, if you guys are interested in learning what that looks like and how to set it up, I can definitely do a video and show you guys how. It's super simple. I got my mom on it. If she's watching, hi mom. She hated the Apple Calendar. Like she would input something and all of a sudden it would go somewhere else. The best part is you can take it with you on your phone, on your laptop, wherever you are using. You have your calendar with you. You don't have to like make sure it fits in your purse. I have a client who's 85 and her calendar is this big. And anytime we write an appointment in there, I'm like, how can you even see your words? But it fits in her purse and that's what she needs. She's not a tech person. So if you're okay with being on your phone and having your calendar that way, it's super nice to share things. Like Lois, I just shared that invite with you. I created it in Google Calendars and I shared it with you, all from the one touch of a button. And you get to pick some pretty colors.
Yay.
So, oh, Jerry, yeah.
What about integrating Google Calendars with your other family members who have like Apple Calendar?
Oh, such a great question. So I don't know how Apple and Google talk to each other. I have a feeling it's not very nice because Apple doesn't really talk to anybody very nicely. Apple's their own little person on their island. But I was going to say, make sure you have one calendar with everything. So don't have a personal calendar, don't have a work calendar, make one calendar. Everything that I do is on my Google Calendar. We have a calendar upstairs in the kitchen that we write like highlights. Like we write doctor's appointments so we know what's going on in each other's lives. We write, hey, we have this event going on. We have this fun thing. It's more of like, at a quick glance, what's coming up? Do we have that weekend free? Whereas my calendar has that, but it also has everything else. So does your husband use Apple calendars?
Yeah, that's why my stuff is on an Apple Calendar. And I don't mind the Apple Calendar, but you keep talking about Google. Actually, I'm scared of Google, but everybody keeps telling me to use Google Docs and use Google Drive and use Google Calendar. And I'm like, is this something I need to look into?
So definitely for your Google Docs, your Drive, everything like that, Google's super nice. The one thing that I think is super cool, Cherry, is I've created events. Like I now go in, I connected my Zoom to my Google Calendar. So when I create something, I can make it a Zoom meeting. I can add the person, it will send it directly to them, the invite.
That sounds awesome to me. So I'm like, ooh, I need to learn that. But then I think of, great, now I'm going to be putting things in two different calendars, the Google Calendar and then my husband's like calendar to make sure it's on his thing.
That's all. Would he be open to switching to Google Calendar? No.
Probably not. I mean, I can ask him.
And I will definitely look up to see if there's a way to make them work together. I have a feeling Apple is their own breed, so they will not, but there is always a possibility. There's so many new apps these days that make things connect and talk. So one calendar, and maybe that's where you control your whole calendar and just every Sunday, or you find that time for you guys to calendar plan. That's what my nanny family does. They schedule 30 minutes once a week to make sure that their calendars align, even though they can see each other's calendar on the Google. It's super cool, but I'm like, but you never know when something's on a piece of paper that hasn't been added. So taking that time to schedule in your calendar when you're going to schedule your scheduling. the life of a family. So, do you guys have any questions for me? Any more questions, I should say? Guys feeling good? Okay, so this was a big topic. I know some of this you guys have heard before, some of this is new, some of it it's just a different way to think about it. At the end of all these calls, we go around and I want to know your guys' biggest insight or takeaway from what we talked about today. Maybe it was something I said, maybe it was something someone else said. And what are you doing either right when we get off the phone or tomorrow to implement, to make yourself more mentally organized? Who would like to start? Go for it, Cherry.
I guess flex time. I really liked that term, and I'm like, yes, we need more flex time. So that was a good one to hear. And the notebook, getting my lists in a notebook together, I think is the biggest thing. So hopefully, I don't want to say tomorrow because I need to find the one that I want and go with it. I don't know if I'll have it by tomorrow, but this weekend we are going shopping for like binders and things that I need for school. So I will get it this weekend.
Perfect. My one suggestion when you are in your notebook, make sure you put the day of the week and the date that you are writing each time. So say Monday, August 30th, everything. So when the next day comes around, so that you can see really how long has this list been going? How many weeks have you not moved or crossed off that thing? It's just a way to track without thinking, well, I got this notebook back in August of 2020. Why did I not do this? What day did I get it? So just write the day, the date, just so you have a way to track how long something has sat there, or just so you have a way of tracking. That is awesome though. I'm excited. Will you share with us when you have your notebook and what you decided on?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Lois, how about you? What was your biggest takeaway and what action are you taking?
I need to get more organized. I need to prioritize stuff. And I would like to learn more about this Google Calendar. Now, do you plan on doing a video or not?
I will do a video. If you guys are interested, I will do a video. I'm not sure what it necessarily looks like when you I can try to do it from a different email and go from like somebody who's just created. So it may take me about a week to do it by the time I figure out all the ins and outs, but I will do a video on how to add appointments, how to color code something. I'll teach you the basics of it so you guys can get started on it. How does that sound?
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
How often does Google change their stuff? Like if you go in the next month and you go to add an appointment, is it changed to a different button or system? Like, have you noticed?
I've been using Google Calendars for probably 2 years now, and there's really no changes. Every once in a while, there'll be a change in the colors you can choose, or they'll have added something like you can add memos, tasks. There's a bunch of things you can now add, but the basics are there and they have never changed on me.
Okay.
Yeah, I like updates, but I also don't like them. I like what works. Don't make me learn new things. Kathy, how about you?
Well, I do currently use the Google Calendar and I do like it. I do have a tendency to write lists and that. Probably maybe even organize that a little bit more. What I think I would really like to do, and I don't think anyone said it, but it's something I really want to schedule sometime in my day, just nothing, like so that I can just go read a book for a half hour, something like that, and just have that space open, for me, that Kathy time.
I love that. Schedule it as Kathy time, and that can be flexible. But just know that it's got to be somewhere in there. Right. Think of it as a non-negotiable. Anything for your health, whether it's me time, it's your workouts, whatever it's your business, whatever it is, make it a non-negotiable, like you're going to the doctor, because you don't want to have to pay that fee for not going. Make it a non-negotiable, show up to it, and just be in that moment, whatever that is. I love the me time. That's usually my weekends. It's my me time. Because I'm not retired yet.
Yeah.
So Lois, once I get you the video, is your action to then work with Google Calendars?
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect. So awesome. If you guys don't have any more questions, reminders, I guess, I don't think I did those at the beginning. Our classes every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Monday and Wednesday are 12 to 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, and Thursday 5:10 to 5:40 Eastern Standard Time. Those are the virtual group fitness classes. I do it from right here in my basement. It is great. I love it. So if you are ever interested in trying a class, let me know. Just drop class in the comments and I'll make sure you get all the information you need on that. new schedules coming out, and there will be a post on Saturday going over what those 4 tips are, just as a reminder to you guys. So I will see you guys next week. Next week, we have a movement workshop all about functional fitness and how what we do in our workouts should transfer over into our life if we are doing it correctly, and prevent us from injury and prevent us from feeling old. Feel like it's the feeling old is what I've been hearing a lot. I feel old. I'm like, okay, let's get you out of that. I will see you guys next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.